Hello everyone and welcome back to the 500 horsepower tournament. I don't have anything else to say, so let's get into it. But before we do, let's get a recap of who the finalists are. So, we have Brett Fox in the Focus RS, who fought very hard to make it to the finalist lineup, even to the point of nearly getting eliminated a couple times, with his overall placement in the tournament now being up to how he does in the finale. Same can be said for Ferrari GT Sport in the Corvette C8, as his journey of making it to the finals wasn't the easiest either. What's also notable is that this is his second time being in a finals, at least from the tournaments I hosted. But even though that last attempt at taking the win wasn't very successful, I'm sure that's not gonna be the case here. We are also joined by Interrupting Octopus in the Mazda MX-5, as it seems that out of all the people who are looking for a redemption run in this tournament, it looks like he is the one who got the definitive one. I mean, yeah, there were many ups and downs along the way, and he even risked getting eliminated twice, but the sole fact that he made it out alive is what matters. There's also Mojave Queen in the Ferrari 512BB. Now, she may not have had it as hard as the rest of the finalists, but she sure as heck did not just cruise through every single race like a TVR would in a GT4 tournament. Either way, she made it to the finale, and I can easily tell she's gonna do everything in her power to try to take the win. W12 is here too, as he successfully proved that Audi TTs can indeed be competitive. But that's not to say the journey for him was anything easy. And yeah, it's gonna be very interesting to see how the Audi TT does against its competition here. And finally, we have Xolstis in the Devil Z, who is here to avenge his fallen Fairlardy Z competitors. And he, just like Interrupting Octopus, had a very difficult journey to get here. But if we were to talk about that, we would be sitting here all day, especially due to how long this tournament is in general. But regardless, Xolstis is here to try to win the tournament and give some proper justice to the Devil Z. Anyways, with the finalists reintroduced, let the 500 horsepower finale begin! So, for the first race, we're gonna be doing 3 laps around Dragon Trail Gardens. We begin with what looks like Xolstis already trying to catch up to W12, with what also looks like Mojave Queen already somewhat closing in the gap between the C8 Corvette, which itself on this corner manages to close in the gap between Octopus and Brett Fox. As you can see, things don't seem to be going the best for both of them at the moment. On the previous corner combo, it looks like both Ferrari and Octopus got overtaken by the 512BB, with Mojave Queen now off to catch up to Brett Fox, who is trying to overtake the Devil Z. As it also looks like Octopus is trying to hold off Ferrari on the braking zone. Heading into the zigzag corners, it looks like Mojave Queen tries to overtake Brett Fox, and she succeeds in doing that, already climbing up to the podium as Xolstis and W12 now stand in her way. Meanwhile, further back, from what I can tell, it looks like Octopus continues to hold off Ferrari. But while that is happening, W12 managed to build a gap over everyone, somewhat, attempting to hold his ground over Xolstis and Mojave Queen, who are battling against each other. Further back in the grid, it looks like Ferrari tried overtaking Octo in the corners, but didn't really succeed in doing that. And speaking of Octo, his MX-5 tries to overtake Brett Fox's Focus. However, Brett Fox is not gonna let him overtake that easily. And they, along with Ferrari, continue battling against each other, as it looks like Mojave Queen takes the lead from W12 heading into the second lap. And Solstice also tries overtaking the Audi TT on the straight, but unfortunately does not succeed from what I can tell. Still, the Devil Z is not gonna give up. Meanwhile, in the back, Ferrari has once again reached Octo's overtaking distance, and he manages to successfully pull off the overtake on the corner combination, meaning that Octo has now fallen down to last place, with the C8 Corvette now also ready to make it past Brett Fox and Solstice, to make up for the time he lost while being held off by Octo. The braking zone comes around with what looks like him also successfully overtaking Brett Fox. While that is happening, W12 continues to make sure he does not lose any positions to anyone. Ferrari is now off, as it looks like the Focus RS tried overtaking the C8 back, but unfortunately did not succeed in doing that. Through the zigzag corners they go, as it looks like the Devil Z is successfully holding him off, allowing the Audi TT to stay ahead of them. And we head into the next section with what looks like Ferrari trying to overtake Solstice but getting gapped by him instead. And he slowed himself down a bit on the set section, allowing Brett Fox to nearly reach his overtaking distance. As you can see on this straight, Solstice really was able to gap Ferrari by a lot. Not only that, but he managed to also catch up to W12 in the meantime. While further back, Brett Fox and Octopus continue battling against each other, with him even nearly overtaking the Focus, but unfortunately not succeeding in the said overtake. And we reach the third and final lap, as Solstice is now trying to make it past W12. He manages to do just that on the straight, claiming second, while W12 now has to defend the podium from Ferrari. But his goal of defending the podium becomes even more difficult, with the C8 Corvette instantly closing in the gap between the Audi. And that does mean the Devil Z is also at risk of being overtaken, given it wasn't really able to build a gap over them. Through the corner combination and into this speed section, Ferrari reaches W12's overtaking distance, but he wasn't able to overtake the TT due to it actually somewhat gapping him on the set straight. Quite surprisingly, it doesn't look like that outcome is changing on the braking zone either. As you can see, W12 is still in third place. And while all of that was happening, interrupting Octopus unfortunately was not able to overtake Brett Fox. The zigzag corner comes around with what looks like Ferrari reaching overtaking distance of the Audi once again, while Solstice used that time to somewhat pull away from both of them. As you can see, the Devil Z is nowhere near the Audi or the Chevrolet. Anyways, from what I can tell, Ferrari got gapped again somewhat by the Audi TT. And even though he instantly caught back up to W12, that doesn't mean W12 is unable to hold him off still. Yeah, in an unexpected turn of events, it looks like the Audi is actually winning against Ferrari. Meanwhile, in the front, it looks like Mojave Queen has just been chilling in first place this whole time, allowing her to claim 6 points, and following her is Solstice in second, earning 5 points. The Corvette and the TT head off into the finish line, as it looks like Ferrari pulls a last-minute overtake on W12, claiming 4 and 3 points respectively, while Brett Fox gets 2 points and interrupting Octopus gets 1 point. Moving on to the second race, we're doing 3 laps around Brands Hatch. We begin the race with what looks like interrupting Octopus trying to redeem himself after last race, while Mojave Queen is trying to catch up to Solstice, as they both nearly go wide into the sand. But while they are now trying to gain back the time they lost because of that, Ferrari has managed to successfully overtake W12, already climbing up a position spot. And with that in mind, Brett Fox is now gonna try to make sure that doesn't happen to him. And so we reach this corner with what looks like interrupting Octopus successfully building a gap over everyone. And on this speed section, he is off to build up even more of a gap over them. But what also happens on the straight is that Ferrari reaches Brett Fox's overtaking distance and successfully overtakes him on this very corner. And following the two of them is W12, who is currently trying to make sure Solstice and Mojave Queen do not overtake him. Thankfully for W12, that should be way easier to accomplish given this track is way narrower compared to the previous one. Going through the final section of the track, it looks like Brett Fox was unfortunately not able to fight back against Ferrari, who's now trying to catch up to Interrupting Octopus in first place. But will that catching up attempt be successful? I guess we're about to find out on the very next lap. Further back, it looks like Mojave Queen has found an overtaking opportunity on the Devil Z. And she now tries overtaking him, but it doesn't look like Solstice is gonna let go that easily. Unfortunately, it's not enough, as the Devil Z heads into this corner and gets overtaken by the 512BB, with W12 now trying to stay ahead of her. And he heads into the braking zone, on which unfortunately the Audi goes wide, letting her through, allowing her to go from last to fourth in a span of 20 seconds. Meanwhile in the front, it looks like Ferrari is slowly catching up to Octopus. However, he hasn't reached overtaking distance of the MX-5 yet, although that is not a problem for the C8 Corvette. He builds up more speed on this straightaway, allowing him to reach overtaking distance. Not only that, but he successfully overtakes Octopus as well, allowing him to take the lead. It looks like Brett Fox is trying to make sure Mojave Queen doesn't overtake him. Heading into this somewhat complex section, the Focus RS lets its guard down for 1 second, and that fact alone costs him the podium as Mojave Queen overtakes him, allowing her to now be able to catch up to Interrupting Octopus, who himself, from what I can tell, wasn't really letting Ferrari gap him. But while that happens in the front, in the back, it looks like W12 got overtaken by Solstice, who already pulled away from the Audi and is now trying to catch up to the Ford. Meanwhile, as you can see, Mojave Queen has already managed to build a gap over the two of them, now trying to close in the gap between her 512BB and Octo's MX-5, while Ferrari is trying to pull away from the said MX-5. We head through the first corner once again, as it looks like Solstice managed to reach Brett Fox's overtaking distance, but it doesn't look like he managed to overtake him yet. Yeah, as you can see, the Focus RS is trying to do everything to make sure that doesn't happen. And on the actual corners themselves, Mojave Queen is slowly but steadily catching up to Interrupting Octopus, while Octo himself is trying to make sure he does not lose time to Ferrari, and also make sure he is able to hold his ground over the 512BB. Either way, further back, it looks like Solstice once again tried overtaking Brett Fox in the corners, but unfortunately did not succeed in doing that. Unfortunately, things don't seem to be changing for him on the straightaway either, as it looks like Brett Fox is still ahead of him. In the meantime, Mojave Queen continues trying to catch up to Octopus, with little success, as the MX-5 really doesn't seem to be going easy on her. Going into the final section of the track, it looks like Ferrari was indeed successful in pulling away from everyone. Needless to say, he managed to make up for only getting bronze medal in the last race. And thankfully for Ferrari's case, it doesn't look like the Corvette is doing any last-minute mistakes, which means we've got our race results. Ferrari gets first as he crosses the finish line the fastest. Interrupting Octopus got second, Mojave Queen got third. Brett Fox manages to stay ahead of Solstice, getting fourth, while Solstice got fifth, and W12 got last place. Meaning that this is how much points each of them gets. And these are the updated standings. But now onto the third race, in which we are doing 3 laps around Sardinia Road Track Layout A. The race begins and so do the battles. Heading into this corner, it looks like Ferrari is already trying to catch up to Xolstis. And on this braking zone, he managed to succeed in doing that, with the Devil Z finding an overtaking opportunity on the MX-5. Luckily for Xolstis' case, that was an actually successful overtake, with him now taking the podium spot away from Octopus. And things don't seem to be getting better for Octo, as it looks like Ferrari and Mojave Queen managed to catch up to him as well. But while that is happening, Brett Fox and W12 are somewhat trying to pull away from them as not to lose any positions. Ferrari manages to overtake both Xolstis and Octopus. And looking behind him, Mojave Queen also managed to overtake Octopus, meaning that he has fallen down to last place again. Which, being honest, is really unfortunate for him. Either way, Brett Fox and W12 reach this corner with somewhat of a gap built over everyone. They speed off into this section as it looks like Ferrari is somewhat catching up to them, which is not what they wanted. What also didn't go to plan is Xolstis holding off Mojave Queen. As you can see, she managed to overtake him no problem. Further in the front, Ferrari reaches overtaking distance of the Focus RS. He tries overtaking Brett Fox on this corner and he actually succeeds in doing that. And even though Brett Fox is not giving up, that doesn't mean Ferrari's not gonna give up either. As you can see, he manages to successfully take second away from him. Now off to catch up to W12 in the Audi TT as the second lap begins, with the C8 Corvette already closing in the gap between W12. Reaching overtaking distance of the Audi TT and now trying to overtake it on this braking zone and succeeding, even though he had somewhat of a switcheroo between him. Regardless, Ferrari is in the lead, already somewhat building a gap over the Audi, while Brett Fox is trying to make sure Mojave Queen doesn't overtake him. Unfortunately for his case, it doesn't look like he was able to hold her off either, losing the podium to the 512BB. Meanwhile, further back, it looks like Interrupting Octopus is trying to catch up to Xolstis but isn't really succeeding in doing that. And things don't seem to be changing for Xolstis position-wise either. We made it into this speed section with what looks like Mojave Queen now trying to catch up to W12. And the 512BB actually reaches overtaking distance of the Audi TT, however, she was not able to overtake him yet. She tries overtaking again on this braking zone and succeeds this time, as W12 is now in third place due to being overtaken. With that in mind, he needs to make sure that nobody else overtakes him. As for Mojave Queen, she has already somewhat built a gap over him and is now trying to catch up to Ferrari. What's also happening further back in the grid is that Xolstis reached Brett Fox's overtaking distance, with the Devil Z trying to overtake on this final section of the track but not succeeding. While that is happening, W12 is making sure that they do not catch up to him, successfully managing to build a gap over his competition just like Mojave Queen. And so, Brett Fox is trying not to lose time to Xolstis as he makes his way to the third and final lap. However, Xolstis has other plans, reaching overtaking distance once again on the straight, trying to overtake his Focus RS heading into this braking zone. While all of that was happening though, it looks like Interrupting Octopus was unfortunately stuck in last place this whole time. Further in the front, it looks like Brett Fox actually manages to catch up to W12 somewhat. Not enough to reach overtaking distance yet, but he did somewhat close in the gap. In the meantime, Mojave Queen is catching up to, or at least trying to catch up to Ferrari, but it doesn't look like she is really succeeding in that. As you can see, the gap between the 512BB and the C8 Corvette is huge. Brett Fox nearly reaches W12's overtaking distance on this corner, but not yet. While Octopus managed to somewhat close in the gap between the Devil Z. now trying to catch up to it and maybe even overtake it on the speed section. However, Solstice doesn't seem to be going easy on the MX-5 here. And neither is W12 going easy on Brett Fox. Given the Focus RS was in overtaking distance, but it wasn't able to overtake. Even when he builds up more speed than him on this section, W12 continues making sure that Brett Fox does not take the podium away from him. Meanwhile in the front, as you can see, Mojave Queen tried catching up to Ferrari, but it doesn't look like she succeeded in the task at hand. If anything, it looks like the C8 Corvette's ginormous lead over everyone actually ended up benefiting it in the long run. And with no last-minute mistakes from him, it looks like our finishing order is set in stone. Ferrari GT Sport reaches the finish line with another first-place finish, earning himself 6 points, while Mojave Queen in second gets 5 points. W12, as he successfully reaches the finish line in third place, gets 4 points, while Brett Fox gets 3, Solstice gets 2, and Interrupting Octopus gets 1. And with that, these are our race results, and these are the updated standings. But enough of that, let's move on to race 4, in which we are doing 2 laps around Circuit de San Croix Layout B. We're off, as Ferrari immediately locks in and reaches overtaking distance of Mojave Queen, already trying to overtake as he reaches the first corner, while Mojave Queen is trying to hold him off and make sure she does not get overtaken by him. In the middle of the grid, it looks like Solstice reaches overtaking distance of Brett Fox and is trying to overtake him the same way Ferrari is trying to overtake the 512 BB. While that is happening, W12 and Interrupting Octopus are trying to pull away from their competition. We head off into this section with what looks like Ferrari trying to overtake Mojave Queen again. But unfortunately, he does not succeed in doing that yet. He tries to overtake her again through the outside of this corner and succeeded this time, with both of them now trying to speed off on the bridge section. As you can see, they're both almost on par with each other acceleration-wise. It also looks like Brett Fox somewhat caught up to W12. However, he wasn't really able to overtake the Audi TT. We now reach the speed section with what looks like Ferrari being chased down by Mojave Queen, who manages to overtake him back for a little bit before getting overtaken once again. And also catching up to Solstice in the Devil Z, who he manages to overtake as he builds up more speed on the set speed section. That fact alone allows him to catch up to Brett Fox and W12, who seem to be on par with each other and managing to pull off a double overtake on them. But not without the Audi somewhat putting up a fight against him. Unfortunately for W12, that was not enough to reclaim second place. And while he is now off to catch up to Octo, Mojave Queen has managed to successfully overtake Solstice, leaving him in last place, as it looks like she is now off to try to do that same overtaking maneuver on Brett Fox. But unlike Solstice, she was able to overtake him instantly, with W12 now the only one that's standing in her way from the podium. Going through the final corner, it looks like Ferrari successfully caught up to Interrupting Octopus, who before that was just chilling with a respectable lead over the others. Either way, we head into the second lap with what looks like him trying to overtake Octopus, successfully managing to pull that off on the start-finish straight. With him now in the lead, Interrupting Octopus is trying to make sure he does not lose positions to anyone else, since he is the one who needs points as not to be last in the overall standings. While he is doing that, Mojave Queen successfully reaches overtaking distance of the Audi TT, now trying to overtake W12 with very little success at the moment. In the meantime, Ferrari has already gapped the MX-5, with Octo not really being able to do much about it. Anyways, Mojave Queen once again reaches overtaking distance of the Audi, but is unfortunately not able to overtake W12. Yeah, being completely honest, W12 is doing a very good job at holding off his opponents. But will those skills prevent him from being overtaken on the bridge section? Unfortunately no, as Mojave Queen manages to overtake him on the said bridge section, allowing her to take the podium away from the Audi. And things might get even more interesting as we are now reaching the speed section where anything can happen. Anyways, in the back, I kind of forgot to note this, but it looks like Solstice was indeed successful at overtaking Brett Fox. Guys, I know I missed the overtake when it happened, I'm sorry. But regardless, Solstice is now off to catch up to W12 and maybe even overtake him. Surprisingly, he manages to instantly reach overtaking distance the same way Mojave Queen reached overtaking distance of Octos, successfully overtaking W12 on the speed section. He now just needs to make sure that W12 does not overtake him back on any of the corners, which he nearly gets overtaken back instantly on the braking zone right after, but still managed to stay ahead of him despite that. While he managed to successfully overtake, Mojave Queen on the other hand is still being held off by Octopus, who managed to successfully stay ahead of her this whole time. But she still has one final shot at overtaking the MX-5. And I guess in her words, it's not over till she says it's over. Successfully overtaking at her last possible chance, but it's too late to catch up to Ferrari as he finished first. While Mojave Queen now has to settle for second, interrupting Octopus finishes right behind her in third, Solstice is fourth, W12 is 5th, and Brett Fox is last. And so this is the amount of points everyone gets. And these are the updated standings once again. But now it's time for the 5th and final race, in which we are doing one lap around the one and only Nürburgring Nordschleife. As you can see, Brett Fox starts off as it looks like he is trying to hold his ground over everyone else behind him. Solstice makes it into the first corner, trying to catch back up to the others along with Mojave Queen and Ferrari. And they head into the first section of the track with what looks like them trying to do just that. But it doesn't look like they're gonna achieve that instantly. If anything, they need a lot more than just pure speed to be competitive on this track. Either way, Solstice heads into this section as he makes it past the Spectator NSX, which is trying not to interfere with the race. While that is happening, W12 is losing time to Octopus in the front. It also looks like Ferrari managed to catch up to Mojave Queen and is now trying to overtake her heading through this section of the track. We head through the set section of the track and into the next one, as it looks like interrupting Octopus is slowly but steadily catching up to W12, and Brett Fox is just slowly pulling away from both of them, securing himself the first place for the time being. He also makes sure he does not lose the said lead by going wide. Heading into the braking zone, it looks like the MX-5 really did succeed in reaching the Audi's overtaking distance. And looking at the grid further back, it looks like the same can be said about Ferrari catching up to Mojave Queen, who herself managed to close in the gap between the Devil Z. She builds up more speed on this downhill section, trying to overtake Solstice and gapping Ferrari while she's at it. Meanwhile, further in the front, it looks like interrupting Octopus is still trying to overtake W12 but not really succeeding. The same way how Mojave Queen isn't really succeeding at overtaking the Devil Z. She reaches this section of the track as it looks like Ferrari closes in the gap between her. Not only that, but she also somewhat got gapped by the Devil Z the same way the MX-5 got somewhat gapped by the Audi. As you can see, W12 really is giving it all he's got. While doing so, he also managed to close in the gap between the Focus RS. Ferrari continues trying to overtake the 512BB but not really succeeding in his attempts. He reaches overtaking distance once again, however overtaking is not gonna be as easy. Now making sure he stays in overtaking distance heading through these corners, while Mojave Queen herself loses the opportunity to overtake Solstice as he pulls away from her again. Into the halfway point of the circuit we make it, as it looks like things are really getting close between everyone. Solstice tried overtaking the MX-5 but didn't really succeed in that, while Ferrari didn't overtake Mojave Queen, but that doesn't stop him from trying again on this corner as it's neck and neck between the 4 cars. Octopus was nearly overtaken by Solstice, who nearly lost his position to Mojave Queen. Trying to overtake again, and Solstice was able to take the 3rd place temporarily from Octo. However, he got instantly overtaken back by the MX-5. Meanwhile, Brett Fox and W12 once again tried pulling away from their competition, but it doesn't look like they succeeded in that. And it also looks like Ferrari found an overtaking opportunity on the 512BB. Although he, just like Solstice, was not able to secure the overtake. And as everybody keeps building up more speed on this section, W12 now has to resort to holding off if he wants to keep the 2nd place, allowing Brett Fox to pull away from everyone once again. Both Octopus and Solstice reach overtaking distance of the Audi TT, but unfortunately they're not able to overtake. In the meantime, Ferrari managed to make it past the 512BB, although the C8 Corvette once again fails in securing the overtake, going wide and allowing the 512BB to overtake him back again. Things don't seem to be very fortunate for Mojave Queen either, as she once again got gapped by Solstice and the others in front of her. But it's no loss really, as her and Ferrari can easily catch back up to him. We now head into the carousel with what looks like W12 once again gapping the MX-5. And also the MX-5 nearly gets overtaken by the Devil Z once again. Ferrari ends up losing time on the said carousel to the 512BB, but that's not enough for him to declare giving up. In the meantime, Solstice secured himself the 3rd place, which he took away from Octo, with him now trying to make sure Mojave Queen and Ferrari do not overtake him in the same way. We head into here with Mojave Queen instantly catching up to him and Ferrari losing time by smacking into the wall again, costing him time to the 512BB, which is trying to overtake the MX-5 but not really succeeding in doing so. Solstice also managed to catch up to W12, who is still holding everybody off. Unfortunately for the Devil Z's case, it doesn't look like he is doing any better than Octo at overtaking the Audi. Ferrari's in overtaking distance once again, overtaking the 512BB, this time absolutely making sure that he secures himself the position gain. But trying not to get overtaken by the 512BB yet again is not the easiest thing to do. Still, he manages to secure the position gain by out-cornering her, heading into the scariest part of a Nordschleife lap, where W12 manages to successfully gap the Devil Z, and he is now trying to catch up to Brett Fox, who's been in 1st place the whole race. Solstice easily manages to catch up to him, however, and Octo nearly gets overtaken by the C8 Corvette, as Ferrari is just trying not to lose time to the MX-5. Heading through this section of the track, Ferrari is trying to overtake Octo at ridiculously high speeds. He goes over this apex way too aggressively, resulting in the C8 Corvette spinning out as a result, also slowing down Mojave Queen, who crashed into him while trying to recover. But I guess that allows everybody else to pull away from both of them. Octopus successfully reaches overtaking distance and manages to overtake the Devil Z back. It also looks like W12 was unable to take the 1st place from Brett Fox. As you can see, Brett Fox is still in the lead. However, whether or not he will be able to keep the 1st place, it all comes down to the final straight. And we head into the set straight, with what looks like interrupting Octopus reaching overtaking distance of the Audi TT. Now that he is able to build up more speed, he easily finds an overtaking opportunity on the Audi, allowing him to successfully make it past W12. While he is now off to catch up to the Focus RS, Solstice also manages to reach W12's overtaking distance. Or at least trying to, successfully doing that and also successfully finding an overtaking opportunity while he's at it. While Brett Fox has done everything he can to make sure he does not lose the first place to Octopus, successfully managing to hold off the MX-5 on the straight. Heading through the final sets of corners, it doesn't look like Octopus was able to overtake Brett Fox, nor was W12 able to overtake back Solstice. Which means Brett Fox finishes the Nordschleife race in first place, with interrupting Octopus in second, Solstice in third, W12 in fourth, Mojave Queen in fifth, and Ferrari GT Sport in last place. And just like that, it is now time to announce the final results in the standings. In 6th place is W12 with a total of 13 points, successfully managing to bring justice to the Audi TT. Finishing right ahead of him in 5th place is Brett Fox with 15 points, marking the end of his tough journey of making it through the tournament. And in 4th place, actually there is no 4th place, but rather a tie for 3rd place between Interrupting Octopus and Solstice, both with 16 points. Congratulations to you two for managing to achieve this even when all the odds were against you. But now it's the moment you've all been waiting for. The winner of 500 horsepower by a 1-point difference is Ferrari GT Sport with an impressive 23 points, while Mojave Queen is the runner-up with 22 points. Being completely honest, this might have just been the closest battle for first place in any tournament by far. Congratulations to Ferrari GT Sport for winning this tournament and proving that the C8 Corvette is the best 500 horsepower car. And special thanks to everybody else for participating. What a journey. It's such a shame that there's probably not gonna be any more serious tournaments like this happening ever again. Anyways, thank you guys so much for watching this tournament, and thanks for all the support. It really means a lot to me. And with that being said, I'll see you guys next time.